Ricketts' exchange with you, Mr. Rayburn, regarding the ways in which the Trump administration is thinking about a deal with Iran. It seems pretty muddled to many of us on this committee. You likely heard Vice President Vance yesterday suggest that, in fact, the Trump administration would be open to Iran being able to enrich. The president himself posted on social media an article that outlined a deal that would allow Iran to have enrichment capabilities. So I look forward to this continued conversation. If in the end a deal gets struck in which Iran makes promises never to obtain a nuclear weapon but is given the ability to enrich to a certain level, that sounds a lot like the JCPOA. What a tragedy it would be to have thrown out the window to then just re-enter a deal on very similar parameters. I also appreciated the answer you gave on the president's decision to remove Syria sanctions. But I'm interested in your views because there's a Washington Post report this morning that says some of Trump's own officials are mounting a quiet but determined rearguard action to undermine President Trump's Syria policy, which is to lift all sanctions. I actually think the president is right, that it's time for us to lift these sanctions and give the Syrian regime a shot. But there is reporting that there are members of his team that are seeking to undermine that decision. Are you part of the group that is described here that is trying to convince the president not to lift sanctions on Syria?
Senator, thank you for that question. Senator, I'm as a private citizen, I'm not in the U.S. government. I'm not a part of the policy system, and the president has been very clear with his policy guidance. So if I'm confirmed, I'm going to implement the president's policy as handed to me also by Secretary Rubio, and that's been very clear.
But you've obviously thought and written extensively on this topic. Do you want to share your personal views with us on whether the president is right to pursue a release of these sanctions?
Senator, I support the president's goals and his initiative as he laid out just within the last 48 hours. I think it offers, as I said to Senator Sheen and Senator Risch, it offers a golden opportunity to turn the page on more than half a century of Syria being a source of instability, a failed state, its people suffering. The president is taking a bold move to give the Syrians an opportunity to grasp that. He has expectations that he's also laid out. So I think this is a policy, if I'm confirmed, that's the policy that I'll be implementing.
Listen, help us understand the advice you are going to give the president regarding the investments that are being made by Gulf nations in the president's businesses and the direct gifts that are being made to the president. I disagree with the president's decision to do business deals with foreign nations and sovereign wealth funds and companies that are controlled by foreign governments while he's in office. And I think the American people agree. I think the reason that the announcement on the gift of the plane was so shocking is because this was different. This wasn't an investment in a Trump business. This was just a gift of a $400,000 luxury plane, $400 million luxury plane, not to the U.S. government, but apparently to Trump himself, because he was going to be allowed to take it with him to his library, whatever that is going to be, after he's out of office. So help us understand what the line is here. I think the American people don't really understand what's ethical, what is not, what advice you, as his chief advisor for the Middle East, are going to give him. Is it okay, if it's okay for the president to get investments in his businesses, if it's okay for the president to get a gift to the presidential library, what's not okay? Would it be okay for a foreign government to hand him an envelope of cash? Explain to the American people what the line is here.
Senator, thank you for the opportunity to address this. Of course, I'm not in the system, so I'm not part of the review process at this stage. I'm not privy to the engagements either within our system.
But you've obviously seen you know what the debate is here. I think on this issue, it's important to hear your personal views. Where do you think the line exists? Could you give an example of a gift or a payment to the President of the United States that would be unethical or illegal or that you would advise against?
Senator, my personal view and in my experience, the White House and President Trump are going to follow all applicable laws and ethical guidelines that govern the reception of gifts. I have no doubt that that process is going to be followed to the letter.
And you don't believe that the gift of the plane violates, at the very least, the emoluments clause of the Constitution?
Senator, again, I'm not involved. I'm not in the system. I'm not involved in that process, but I am confident that the White House, that the President are going to follow all the applicable laws and ethical guidelines governing the reception of gifts.
Yeah, that is not terribly confidence-inspiring. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Okay, so next we have Mr. Paul, please.